right back at it in between Christmas and New Year's. Here we are at TPL. And I'll tell you this, the FBI hasn't taken a break either over the last couple of days. They seem to be honing in and getting closer to Ryan Wedding. I don't know how to operate the teleprompter. Forgive me. I'll read this to you. He's a former Canadian Olympic snowboarder turned alleged drug kingpin and one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives in the U.S. Authorities want him for allegedly running a vast and violent transnational drug trafficking enterprise responsible for importing multi-ton quantities of cocaine, fentanyl, heroin, and methamphetamine from Colombia through Mexico into the U.S. and Canada. He's considered extremely dangerous and accused of orchestrating dozens of murders globally, including the killing of a U.S. federal witness in Colombia in 2025, putting him on the FBI top 10 most wanted. Joining me today, Paul Micucci. Happy post-holidays, man.
Same to you, Mike. Happy post-holidays. And, you know, the one thing I actually noted when we prepped for this show, this gentleman is 44 years old.
Yeah.
So he's a young guy, right? A young guy who's very athletic and somehow apparently went off the track and has orchestrated this huge drug cartel that we sort of were, for some reason, notified about it when Pam Bondi and the U.S. government stood up and said, hey, by the way, he's on the most wanted list. And yeah, he's the guy.
You know, Paul, that's almost the biggest takeaway so far on all of this for me. I said to you guys when we got together this morning, who ever heard of Ryan Wedding? Like, the name would stick out in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got Chapo, all of the big drug lords that we've known throughout the years.
Yeah.
We know their names. This is one of the biggest, allegedly, and we found out about it from the FBI.
The FBI,
He never came up on my radar before that.
No, and which is interesting. And, you know, his transportation, his legal, everything is right here in Canada, mm-hmm. Across the country, representing him through the U.S., Mexico. We weren't even aware of it, to tell you the truth.
No, and it's funny that you say Pam Bondi, because she got a lot of heat at that time that she was just throwing shade at Canada. But as the numbers came out, $1 billion worth of drug trade at the wholesale level between Colombia, Mexico, and U.S. and Canada, that enough is a pretty big network. But apparently this is a global thing. Like, he's into Europe and Asia and, of course, like you point out, a snowboarding kid from Thunder Bay, not all that experienced in the world, you would think, outside of Canada, and here he is running this big operation.
Well, and you know, go back a little bit, you know, as we proceed to 2026, look back, you know, we were told at one point that the whole tariff initiative was based on the fact that we had an crazy outbreak of drug.
Oh, yeah. We were the fentanyl capital of the world.
We were the world. And we denied it. So we said, okay, we're not. You know, we don't have this problem. Then we threw a bunch of people on the border. You know, we're going to hire, you know, a couple thousand people to go secure the border. So we did. And then voila, all of a sudden, we find out that Ryan Wedding is the mastermind behind the international drug cartel.
Yeah.
And now he's hiding somewhere in Mexico. I don't know if you saw him on your last trip, but
I did not. Well, listen, if I did, I would be $15 million richer, because that's what they're offering up in a reward. But yeah, apparently they are getting, here's today's update. Recent raids by Mexican authorities in Mexico City and surrounding areas conducted in cooperation with the U.S. law enforcement targeted properties linked to Wedding. And these operations led to the seizure of 62 high-end motorcycles, vehicles, artwork, drugs, ammunition, and 2 Olympic medals. Neither of them his, because he didn't win one.
Oh,
so that was an odd.
Did he buy them? Did he buy Olympic medals? I guess online. Yeah.
I don't know.
I know the swimmers all the time sell them. You know, a lot of the guys who have hard times. Yeah, I think Greg Louganis, like, you know, the diver or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, I think he had to sell his. I just saw it somewhere, but yeah.
Oh, it's good. I bet you if you actually win one of those, they'll let you replace it too. I think that you get it officiated. But he's known as El Jefe and Giant, and his criminal organization, really became exposed when he was arrested for cocaine trafficking in the late 2000s. I think he, you know, I think he was starting to unravel at that point, but still we hadn't heard of him.
No.
He did 3 years for trafficking in the U.S. He did some here in Canada as well, the RCMP. But like I say, not a name I had ever heard before.
No, it's interesting. And it's kind of the way this is unrolling. I don't know if you saw the movie The Running Man over Christmas, but
No, but I'm going to on your recommendation.
well, it has kind of that feel to it. All of a sudden, you know, he's disclosed. Now he's on the run. There's a bounty on his head. And now we seem to be getting these updates where we're getting closer and closer to him.
Yeah.
And I assume there's going to be a final scene somewhere upcoming, because we keep getting notification that it's about to happen, or
They usually
the
don't.
whereabouts.
They don't make releases like they're on a wild goose chase. Usually, they've already got the guy. They've got their man in their sights before and part of this would be using the news to distract him or confuse him or whatever the case is, unnerve him, because he's definitely watching the news at any given time. He's watching this podcast, I do hope. Ryan, subscribe, tell a friend, and when you get to prison. But you raised a really interesting point a few minutes ago. We were all put on alert. These tariffs were meant against Canada for a million reasons. But the first reason that Trump popped out with was, well, you're providing a drug problem to my country.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we get this guy, to your point, if our man's captured, there shouldn't be any more drug trafficking of that level into Canada. We've made a really good, at least a really big dent in it, this problem. So now we're back, we're good with the tariffs. We can go back to where we were.
Well, yeah. No, there's a lot of other issues right now.
Well,
it proceeded ahead after that, but
it's true. He piled a lot of stuff on, but the first thing that we heard was that this was a real problem, and it was the number one stopping factor.
Yeah. Well, but if this is the major arm that was transporting all this fentanyl and other drugs into Canada, then it should, if you think about it, it actually should eliminate quite a bit of the challenges that we have. And hopefully with our increased border security, which, we're paying a ton more money.
Yeah.
We've hired people, we've trained people, we've brought people in. We should be able to be nipping that one in the bud. Transportation wise, I think we covered that, because we found out, through the group and from BC to Brampton and all around, we've seemed to have nipped sort of figured out how the transportation of all this fentanyl was happening.
Right.
So now we know
it was being warehoused,
warehouse, store,
the logistics,
containers, transportation. The guy who actually was the original gentleman who turned on him, quite frankly, was the logistics, the transportation company that was moving it back and forth, and he had lots of issues on his own. And then, his lawyer who was defending him here, right? He's been in the news quite a bit. Very outwardly, not shy.
Deepak Paradkar.
Yeah.
At Cocaine Lawyer, I think was.
Yeah, he wasn't really hiding the issue that what he was doing. So
no, he got somebody off on I think 2 kilograms of, was that right, Christoph? It was a 2 kilogram drug charge. And he was so proud of himself he changed his handle. And
only got a reprimand from the Law Society. Didn't get his disbarred.
No, he didn't get disbarred or anything for it. I by the way, he's referred to as many lawyers in the Toronto area as Napoleon. He comes at it a little hard, certainly impressed with himself. But it was interesting because this guy got out on bail.
Yeah.
$5 million bail.
$5 million. Yep.
Now, why would they? Let's go back and talk about why they arrested him. They arrested him because he advised Ryan Wedding, one of the top 10 most wanted FBI most wanted criminals. He recommended to Ryan Wedding that he kill a star witness, somebody who would definitely be able to take him down in a case out of Colombia.
Right. That was alleged. They were saying that that's why they have evidence. They say that he did do that.
Okay, so it's alleged by the FBI,
Yeah.
who placed him under arrest and then released him on $5 million bail.
Right.
So get thinking about this. First of all, probably the lawyer you want if you've got a drug charge against you that's significant. Sounds like he's got a way about him, whatever the case.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you were the FBI and you only let him, and you knew that he could get $5 million together to put aside, why wouldn't you make that a higher amount? Why wouldn't you press the judge to give a higher bail amount? I have a theory on this, if I may, and this is just a theory. There's
Mike's theory.
Mike's theory.
Mike's theory.
Not Paul's theory. Christoph, if it's also your theory, go ahead and shout it out. He's bait. I think they're using him to find out who. I think they're putting him out on the street to see who comes after him, because he's the next problem that they have in court.
Yeah, probably. You know,
and when I say they, I mean the Ryan camp.
Yeah, the camp. They, you know, he's got all the details. The client privilege is an issue, so I'm assuming he still has to deal with that issue, and they do too. But yeah, I'm sure they're actually trying to see who comes and knocking at the door, trying to figure out what he's going to do next.
Yeah, influence him or make him unable to have influence.
So go back for a minute, because I want to, before we leave it, Mike, I just want to go back through this. So this is all done. So, you know, the end of the Running Man game comes to an end, and quite frankly, they find Ryan, whether he makes it out or not, whether he surrenders, that'll all kind of play out like it plays out wherever in Mexico they do find him. Or even if he's in Mexico, he might not even be there for all we know. But wherever they find him, they find him. It looks like they're telling us they're getting closer. So we're getting the news in advance, like you mentioned. Unless he's really a cunning guy and he's just used that as a decoy and he's somewhere else.
You wonder, right? Like, he's managed to evade authorities to this point.
He has enough money, Grapes. He could have had plastic surgery and disappeared and, you know, be living somewhere under another alias. But say that's not true, and they do find him, they do bring him in, they do all that stuff. Okay, we've nipped the biggest. What did you mention? They call him the giant, or
El Jefe.
El Jefe. So El Jefe, in the FBI said he's the modern day El Chapo. Yeah. So they do cap that off. Okay. So that's it now. So now we are, let's say we've reduced the transportation into Canada of fentanyl, cocaine, all those things by half.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Significantly anyway.
Significantly.
Maybe more.
Okay. Maybe more. So is there a need? I guess there's always a need to secure the border and to make sure things happen. But then we can go back and say, okay, it's not a problem in our country anymore. So should we, and this is kind of a good one for Jeff Wilson and his
outbreak response.
Yeah. So then if the source is eliminated, or a part of the source of the drug trafficking is eliminated, should we not start to see the impacts?
It's a good question.
So homelessness, street people. So it should we now start to see that? Because this has been going on for a while. Now, I'm wondering if we talk to the local police and counselors on the street, are we seeing less now?
I also wonder if this is just the lowest hanging fruit with a large amount of drugs and crime attached to it. And once this is removed from the plant, will we be able to see other fruit behind it, from other cartels, other groups? Will taking a large chunk of this problem away reveal what's remaining? And will we pursue that? Because where there's a gap, this criminal element has a tendency to fill the void quickly with their own sources, another route in for the original guys. How do we stop it from building back?
How do we stop from transporting it into Canada?
How do we stop whatever's been stopped with Ryan Wedding that now is a void? Well, how do we stop the criminal element from filling that void in Canada again?
But we do know how it was transported. So the interesting thing I always find in these cases is we do know how it's transported into Canada.
Yeah.
So, we do know the ports it comes in. We know the transportation logistics. So quite frankly, I find it a little bizarre that we keep asking the same.
Good point.
It really is. Like,
Well, it's a good point. Like,
okay.
if we know it's coming in through these ports in this manner.
Yeah. So if I'm in Montreal and I'm coming, let's be serious. You're in Montreal.
Yeah.
It comes into the port of Montreal, which, years ago, the Port Authority got quite weakened as far as the police force. We know that. So say it comes in through Montreal. It's coming down to Ontario. There's only so many routes down. It's not super complicated, right? We don't have multiple highways to come down.
Is what you're saying to me, Paul, that the 401 is the drug traffic route, the cocaine highway?
Pretty much, right? If that's the route it's coming down on, unless
oh my God, the 401 is cocaine highway.
Unless they're going through the country, unless they're taking country scenic, routes.
No, and they're not. There's no way that, because there's truck restrictions, you get yourself caught that way.
Exactly. So they wouldn't be doing that unless there was, a reason to get off the highway for an accident or whatever. So they're coming straight down, so that's fine. If they're coming out of BC, that's an even easier one, quite frankly, right?
No, your point is
like Canada's a very simple transportation route. It's like we're not a complicated country. So I find it very interesting for these conversations all the time. Well, how is it coming into Canada? Holy crap. Like we only have
coming in our ports, or it's coming on a truck.
Right. And we only have so many major routes to transport. So now we do have weigh stations. We have truck, areas that we do check trucks for loads and such. So,
just outside of Vancouver, just outside of Toronto, and I can use this example in a big way. Caledon has what used to be farmers' fields, now filled. I'm talking, 6 or 7 high of these containers that are widely, obviously unregulated by anybody. They're sitting there. They've passed whatever inspection needs to happen, and they're sitting there. Oh, I drive by these and I think to myself, what
do you think's in there?
How much crime is in those containers? And obviously MTO can only do so much.
Right.
Border services being on our highways can only do so much. But I think you get a point. Like if it's coming in at ports, it's coming in on trucks, and it's making its way on these highways.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Well, we're waiting for the FBI to tell us we have a drug problem, and the number one guy is, born in Thunder Bay, was an Olympic skier. It is a kind of a bizarre. It's a bizarre story, really. Like if you go back and think about this a few months ago, when we were all sitting watching TV, and all of a sudden he popped up, and then they showed that that picture of him, skiing down the hill.
It's 23 years later. In 2002, he competed for Canada at Salt Lakes. So this is, he allegedly started in 2010, involvement with organized crime, dealing, I guess, in Canada. And it just expanded and expanded. He was added to the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list March of this year.
Yeah.
So 23 years later, here he is on the top 10 most wanted list.
And we didn't pick him up?
Well, for 23 years, he went widely unnoticed by me.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we didn't pick him up. I guess it did have to be he was, caught in, maybe from what I've read, it's kind of a cross-border coordinated effort that they surveilled him. There were points in time when they were close enough to him that they could have moved on them, and they didn't. They just wanted to see it all play out and see how it led and who was the mastermind behind it.
Well, if they're like me, they're sitting there going, there's no way this guy is the head of this thing. So who else is behind him? And that may have been. It
does look weird. Kind of. 44-year-old guy, former skier. So, probably hung around ski bum for probably 25 to 30 years of his life. And then all of a sudden got it together and figured out how to be the international drug cartel leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, maybe there's always,
it's a fast ride to the top, Paul.
It's a fast ride. That's a fast ride to the bottom, but down that hill. But it does seem, the story seems, how do I say? It doesn't seem very plausible, but it seems like it needs to be dug into more and kind of unraveled, because that's where, as we're watching and listening to it, and now the kind of the end here where we're kind of getting closer, we're getting closer. It does seem, it's an odd ending.
It's a little calculated.
Yeah,
It's almost like the authorities know exactly what they're doing and they're just making it play out the best they can. I'll tell you this, thanks to Christoph and everybody else in our news capture team, we'll keep an eye on this. But I'm glad we sat down and talked about it, because my three takeaways were, this lawyer better watch his back. He's out there. He's bait on the end of a hook to try and get more information or to get closer to Ryan Wedding.
Yeah, tough.
2, how come I never heard of Ryan Wedding before if he's the biggest kingpin? And, the third thing is, okay, now that we're getting down to this, who's really behind this guy? I think that's the next thing we're going to find out about. And I hope that we do it together here. Paul, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate it. Don't forget, subscribe, like, tell a friend, and visit tplmedia.ca. Don't hesitate to donate or subscribe. That's how we keep this thing running. Thanks. See you next time.